kind of funny really because Zelfa didn't really start out as a kid to box. He always did a little bit of boxing, more with his uncle Mike in the gym, but it was more to football than it was to boxing. And I think it wasn't until he was about 16 he took it a bit more, like he wanted to box and really didn't want to play football as much. But Zelfa at the time should have been going to college when he just left school. So it was a choice of him going to college and boxing is a decision that I really didn't want to make, but I did, because knowing my own career, that when I was boxing, I was fully committed to the boxing, where Zelfa, I can't see him going to college and being fully committed. So we had a chat in the car one time and I said to him, listen Zelfa, if you're going to box, you have to do it 100%, son. And the problem's going to lie with your mum, and college, because that's what she wanted. And me and my sister fell out for a long time over me advising Zelfa to box and not go to college, because she thought he always needed that kind of education thing. But I was pretty old school and thought, well, I never had it, so, do you know what I mean? I think he's going to be good. And when he took to it, it was like, as Brian would say, a duck to water. When Zelfa had his first amateur fight, I think I was locked up at the time, and I missed it. I was in jail. But after his first fight, I was able to see how he was progressing with some of his amateur fights, and I thought, he's actually quite good. And the way he was sparring and the way he was moving, he had all this natural ability, this flexibility. He just had the moves, and to be honest with you, I don't know where it come from, because normally you could create a fight and say, hey, he reminds me a bit of Sugar Ray, or he reminds me a bit of this one, or he reminds me a bit of... But it was different with Zelfa. He just had his own style. He just had this, so basically, it was Tommy at first that was training Zelfa, Tommy McDonald, because, he used to do the amateurs. And then I used to intervene a little bit, but I wanted him to show how much he wanted to do. And then when he started taking it so serious, then I started giving him the talks. When he left college, I made sure that he lived with me, so that he wasn't going to mess about. He wasn't going to be sitting on the street corners, and he was going to do exactly what he said, be committed. So he was living with me for most of his boxing career. From he was 16 to right up to he won the Commonwealth and whatever. And it was only just till after his mum passed that he went back to his own place. But throughout his boxing career, he's done everything under my guidance. We've sat down and we've watched many great fighters, like Mayweather when he was a super featherweight. And his favourite fight was probably Sugar Ray Leonard, and we've watched fighters like this, and that was fast, was quick with the hands and high coordination, and he learned so quickly, even his counter punches, his block throws, and things that we could work on, and his right hand and his jab. We have what we call like a fly jab, where it's not there to hurt you, it's just there to be a pest, just like how a fly can be. So with things we've always worked on, and everything that we've worked on, he's always saying, don't go past this, and he's always asked me questions about it, and he goes, right, I get it. And he's always worked on things, so he's never been that kind of kid that, I think he's got he just has a lot of belief. And I've never met a kid that says he wanted to do something and set out to achieve what he was going to do, to be where he is now in boxing. The fact that he listens and he works to a game plan, that's, I think, is the best quality in any fighter, really, because most fighters can't stick to a game plan. If I say, sometimes with Zelfa, right, I'm like the Chronicle. I can see the future before it happens, because obviously boxing's a revolving thing. I've been there, it's been round, and so I think, hey, Zelfa will end up boxing this kid. But I won't say anything. So in my eyes, we're already preparing for that fight. Like we prepared for Leon Woodstock when he fought for the Commonwealth. before it even happened, because I knew that it was going to happen. Same with Lyndon and Anthony Yard. I knew that fight was going to happen, so we was preparing it from day one. Because when you've got two good fighters with a promoter, it's only going to be a matter of time to make a good fight. It's what they do. It's winner takes all. Yeah. And it's like the same thing with Joe Cordina. I've always watched this Joe Cordina, and in my head, with everything that we've done, I prepared for him. Not just from when we seen it, from when I knew this Zelfa's going to come across and they're going to meet. I already had the blueprint to what we was going to do, the plan, but Zelfa doesn't know. Don't get me wrong, he doesn't know what we're doing. I'm just making him do things, because when it comes preparing for that fight, if it does happen, there's not much I got to change, because we're already there. Do you know what I mean? And it's hard to do that with fighters. If you don't teach fighters how to follow a game plan, it's very hard to get them ready for a world title fight. And as I've always told Zelfa, every fight is a world title fight. So when we're getting ready for things, take it seriously. Even with these so-called journeymen, considering I was one of them that was knocking people out. So we prepare for them properly. He can go all the way. He can go. He'll get another world title fight. He's fought for the world title fight before, and he'll go on to fight for it again. It's just a question of when, and it's a question of making certain things happen. So while he's got, I think it's either WBA or WBC Intercontinental, it puts him ranked to fight for the world title. So he'll probably box an eliminator before Christmas, and then probably fight for the WBC or whichever the belt he's got. I think everybody's career reflects from where I am. The same with Lyndon, obviously Lyndon did box for England. Lyndon boxed for the GB. Lyndon went home, started boxing at the age of 17 to do what he's done. Same with Zelfa, so having them both and bringing them through, just like, they've just come from nothing. Lyndon got a bit more amateur. Lyndon had about 50 odd amateur fights. Zelfa only had an handful, like 25. So, but doing the small or show boxing is what gave him that platform. And being a promoter, it also gave him a chance to get the experience, what they didn't have as an amateur, but they got it as a pro. Because Zelfa had about 15 pro fights before he did anything, which is quite a lot. Do you know what I mean? Most kids now are having 8, 10 fights. You know what I mean? They're lucky if they're getting that. So I mean, it's like in the first year we had about 8 fights. Second year we probably had about more or less the same again. And then you started getting a couple of fights on Box Nation, on Sky Sports. So people started to see him and recognise who this kid was. So yeah, I said to Zelfa one time, I said, I'm going to make you something that TV don't see no more, that is missing. And that was a product to see what's missing in boxing, that nice, silky, smooth, fast kind of style. And everybody who watched him when he did become a bit more viral and a bit more in your face, everybody said, that kid's going to be a world champion. And he works hard, and he does. It doesn't remind me of no fighter really from back in the day. It's just got bits of texture of certain fighters. If you look from back in the day, I'm not based off of anybody apart from who he is himself. But his style is natural, and when you get a fighter that's got natural ability and who's naturally good, it's very rare. Most fighters, they're in the gym, you train them, you prepare them how to be good. And then when you create him to have such a great mindset, it becomes easy. It's like programming a computer. Once you can program it, you can make it work to how you want it to make. So I mean, sometimes you can leave it and it's the data's gone, it's out a bit of things, so you've got to reprogram it. And that's what it is sometimes with me and Zelfa. I think we have to talk first before we go back into camp, so we have an understanding, because he's a man now. Yeah, and when I had him, he was a boy. So things are not as not as straightforward and not as easy because you can't tell him what to do the way you could tell him what to do before. Not because of any difference. You've got to have that respect now as a father, as a man. So, you have to kind of like adjust it and talk, and it's an option. If I say, listen, we're going to get up, we're going to go running at this time, we're going to do this, and he says no, then that's his choice. Then you can have to make it like, okay then, but don't expect me to fit into what you want to do. Do you know what I mean? But it's your choice. I'm only going to give you an option, and that option is yes or nay. I mean, don't get me wrong. We do work like every team and like every nephew and uncle, and I don't think we all have the smoothest of deals working together. But then he knows that I've took him this far, and I can completely take him the rest of the way. So there's a point where the point of no return knows we need to work together, because with Zelfa and Lyndon, where they're going to go, it's very hard. Yeah, you've worked with the same coach all your life. Do you know what I mean? And we do have a certain connection. The only thing with these, when they grow up and they become men, they become kind of difficult, because then they start trying to tell me how the game is. It's very important. Of course it is, because it's a relationship. If you don't have a relationship, you haven't got anything. I mean, this is why I don't understand. It's not as simple as it is by just taking a fighter on to train him when you don't know nothing about him. You know what I mean? It's about trying to get into somebody's head to make them believe that they're capable of doing something. And it's also about making a fighter take risk. And sometimes some people don't want to take that risk. Some people don't want to hear that, don't want to listen. So it's very important that you have a good relationship between boxer and trainer.